mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Hello there. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of And I Quote, the live weekly show where we bring on a special guest from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them, and we also find out what projects they have coming down the line. Joining us in the studio this week, what better way to kick off our celebration, because we are now in the month of May. You know what's coming up in May, on May the 4th be with you? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. He is a podcaster, he is a writer, a producer, and director of the upcoming film that's going to rock the internet. It may, in fact, even break the internet, and everyone across the galaxy will be there to witness it. He is the director of the upcoming film Star Wars: Broken Whills. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Josh Needle. Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you so much for being with us. And by the way, if you are watching us live, if you have any questions for our guest, Josh, here live on the show today, feel free to leave them in the live chat, leave them in the comment section. Our producers are going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of the show. So, Josh, let's take a step back. Let's go back into a house or a neighborhood far, far away before we get to the big project that's coming up later this summer. What were some of your favorite movies or TV series growing up that don't start with star and end with wars?
Well, the big one, actually, the first movie I ever remember seeing is The Lion King from 1994. One of my favorite movies of all time, my favorite animated movie. But besides from that, E.T. was another big one I really loved from my favorite filmmaker, Steven Spielberg. Outside of that, I mean, those are the two big ones that I always cite that I really loved growing up. And then on top of that, there are some others that I really loved. The Planet of the Apes movies, the originals from 1968. I really am a big fan of those. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, that was a big one for me. That's that was my superhero awakening, if you will. And obviously the Star Wars ones. But yeah, I loved a lot of kind of classic like 80s and 70s, 60s movies growing up. I loved a lot of those, and also like Disney animation. A lot of that kind of stuff was my big kickoff into loving film.
Interesting. Now, did you get a chance to read any comic books growing up, or some of the comic books of today that are out now? Do you have any favorites of those?
Yeah, I haven't actually picked up and read a comic book in probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years. But I did grow up reading a lot of DC comics. I was never into huge, like I loved Marvel as I got into the MCU and watched a lot of those movies. And when I watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, that was my favorite. But yeah, I really loved Spider-Man as a kid. That was my big Marvel comic. But outside of that, I really loved Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. Those are the three DC comics I really loved to read a lot. What was the other one? Teen Titans. I liked, or not Teen Titans, whatever I don't know, what the one with not Teen Titans, Nightwing. Nightwing. That's one I liked. But yeah, I haven't read comics in a really long time, but I did really enjoy a lot of comic stuff when I was a kid. And yeah, just yeah.
No, I gotcha. And who would you say outside of Spielberg are some of your other favorite filmmakers?
It's a big question. I have a lot of favorites, but off the top of my head, I mean, Stanley Kubrick's another one I really, really love. I love a lot of his films. I love his work. Alfonso Cuarón is another one I really love and admire. Those are some of the big ones. Some others, Ryan Coogler is also a big one I really love, who's most known for Black Panther, but I love his movies like Fruitvale Station and Creed. M. Night Shyamalan is also a big one that I love. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I really admire M. Night Shyamalan's work. John Carpenter, George Lucas, obviously. Wes Craven, Matt Reeves, who's doing the upcoming Batman movie. He's one of my favorites upcoming. And also Denis Villeneuve. That's one of my favorites. Definitely, he's just really a master of filmmaking right now.
Wow, that's a long, impressive list. And yes, I've heard of each and every one of them, and I've seen at least one film from each of their filmographies. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I've seen at least one of their films from their respective filmographies, I should say. Now, have you been to convention? And if so, do you have any highlights of meeting certain people at conventions, or do you hope to do that when Earth reopens?
I don't think I've ever been to a convention. No, actually, no. I really want to go to one though. I've never. I know you go to a lot, don't you? Or before in the olden times before.
Yeah. Before Earth closed for certain reasons that shall not be named. Yes, I went to a number of them, and they were quite fun. But that is something you hope to do.
Yeah, I would like to go to one at some point. I don't know if I'll ever cosplay or anything, but I would definitely like to go to a convention and walk around, walk the floor, and all that stuff with friends. It'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, going along with that, if you were given a VIP pass to meet one celebrity of your choosing who was going to be at a convention, who would you want to meet?
One celebrity. It would either be George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. Maybe a little bit of a cliche answer, but those are kind of the two I think that kind of have shaped my love of film and filmmaking.
All right. Not bad picks by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. They both have legendary careers within their own right, so there's no question about it. Now, when did you decide to become a podcaster? How did Lasting Light Media come about? So
Lasting Light Media is actually the kind of the formation of something that already existed in the form of it's a silly name here, but it's something we had called Moist Productions. That me and my buddy, we started when we were in high school, and it was spelled MOYST, not because we thought it was cool. We don't know why. But we were making short films back then. We made them in high school. We made them in our early years of college. And then when we started kind of picking up, doing stuff again, when we were, more into our adult years, we were like, okay, let's call ourselves something that's not ridiculous. And so I came up with the name Lasting Light Media. It was I liked the idea of just kind of the lasting light, through, a crowd. It's like something you can see through anything. And we started out just doing short films and film projects and stuff, and we didn't want to call ourselves something like Something Pictures or Something Films or anything, because we wanted to be able to do anything beyond that and do different types of content like we're doing now. And then when me and Travis started talking more and doing more stuff, we came up with the idea, and Cal as well, with doing Lasting Insight, which is the podcast we do on a bi-weekly basis now. And now we also do the show Terror Talk. And so we want to keep evolving, doing stuff like that. And yeah, I really, really, really love just making different types of content and different types of media and talking about different types of things and all across the spectrum. So that's how we got into that.
What would you say are some of the rewards of being a podcaster?
Getting to, my biggest reward is just getting to spend time and hang out and talk to my close friends on a almost daily basis about all this stuff, and planning and organizing and then filming stuff. It's just it's just about the fun and hanging out with friends. I wouldn't be wanting to do it if it was with people I didn't like. So
I can see that. I can see that. What would you say are some of the challenges of being a podcaster?
Keeping on a tight schedule and not having things go wrong. Every once in a while, you have a curveball thrown. Someone can't do this. Someone is late for this. Some scheduling conflict arises, which, I try to keep everything. I try to put out something at least once a week. So we have everything coming out every Friday. Whether it's, an episode of Lasting Insight or an episode of Terror Talk or something to do with Star Wars or something to do with some other project. I like to have at least something coming out once a week. And sometimes it's hard to maintain that schedule just because someone can't shoot on this day, which means we have to push back to this weekend or something here or another. But overall, we managed to make it work, but it can be a challenge.
Any special memories from the show or the content you've put out so far, or meeting other people at certain events where your films have been shown, or just where your content's been spread around the interwebs?
One of my favorite memories is it's one of our actually first with Lasting Insight, or not Insight, Lasting Light Media, is when we did we did a 72 Film Fest and made our film ASAP, and that was back in fall 2019, right before the pandemic and everything shut down. And we actually did really well at the fest. We got several nominations for stuff, including me for Best Editor, and we got Best of the Fest. I think we didn't win it, but we got nominated for it, and that was really, really cool to like. After it was like I think our third or fourth time doing 72 Fest, and it was really exciting to finally like get a lot of like praise and recognition for all that stuff, and everyone was loving the movie, and it was fun. It was just it was a great night, and I really loved doing that. I would like to do it again. So.
Oh wow, that is incredible! Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, what are your plans for your podcast moving forward?
Right now, for Lasting Insight, we're just we're pretty much just keep doing what we're doing. As of right now, we were having guests on back when we started, and then we had to go to doing it digitally because of COVID. And we were able to have guests that way, but now we're doing it in person. We're not doing guests right now, but we're going to start bringing them on soon. So that'll be another evolution again. We're kind of basically restarting for like the third time because of we kicked it off back last year, and then we had to kind of reconfigure how we're going to do the show. So restart in last year, and now we're back to doing it in person. We're kind of relearning how to do it in person, and do everything the right way. So I'm excited for more fun episodes. I'm excited for more Travis and Cal hijinks, as you've seen.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what possesses you to keep working with these two just strange, eccentric individuals, especially when you put them in a room together. It seems like it's just utter chaos most of the time. Sometimes they're cordial. Sometimes they're a few rings short of Saturn, especially Travis. How do you keep the three-ring circus in line?
I don't really.
I mean,
that's kind of the appeal of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. Is there a method to this madness, or does it just come off naturally?
Letting them know when time is up and it's time to end it. That's all I can really do.
And then they have strange ways of ending the show. Sometimes they'll have a deep thought about stuff. Sometimes it'll be a strange, bizarre scenario that comes out of no man's land. And I'm thinking, how is Travis and Cal, how are they still friends with how many times they've had disagreements or arguments?
I don't think they'll ever stop being. Those two are meant to be forever. Those are two of the best friends in the world.
So in a weird way, is it like a bromance? It's just never going to die?
Yeah. Oh, of course it is. Of course it is.
It's just never going to die. Okay. Well, Travis, Cal, our hats are off to you, good sirs, and we wish you all the best. But anyhow, so let's talk about this for a minute. Now, we know that Lucasfilm Ltd. has a lot of things going on. They have a lot of projects that are coming up, whether it be Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is going to drop on Tuesday. May the 4th be with you. What's up? Mm-hmm. You got other projects they have coming in the works. But I don't think, and I'm pretty sure about this, I'm not sure if we're ever going to get episodes 10, 11, or 12, or even something that takes, I mean, I know they're trying to work on something that takes place long before the prequels, and that's fine. Go ahead and do it. Do what you will. But something that is very unique, something that's very special, that's coming out very soon, I might add. It's going to be dropping. It's going to debut on July 3rd of 2021. It's called Star Wars: The Broken Whills. That you are a writer, you're a producer, and as well as the director on. So you're wearing multiple hats, but I got to know. Star Wars: The Broken Whills. Tell us about it. How did this all come about?
So this started, me and Travis started working on this almost 2 years ago. I think we started working on this in May or June of 2019. And it all started with actually Travis I was asking him if he wanted to help me with some other project, and he was like, sure. But then he was like, I was also thinking, let's do some sort of like lightsaber duel or a Star Wars thing. I'm like, hold that thought. And within a couple hours, I went over to his house and we started brainstorming some ideas. And I already had kind of this rough, loose story I had been thinking about for a while, and we kind of just took that ball and ran with it. And ever since then, it's just been a up and downhill. We're writing the script, taking the story, having it all put together, getting all the props and getting all the set and everything ready, getting, location scouting, all that stuff, getting all the costumes good. And we started shooting, and then we had to take a break in sometime the end of the summer, beginning of the fall in 2019, because weather changes affected, continuity stuff. So we were going to take a pause and then pick up filming in early last summer. but then COVID happened, so we couldn't. So we had to delay that filming until the end of the summer. So then we didn't get everything shot until I believe like, I don't know, 7-8 months ago. And then once we got everything shot, then it's just been a back and forth process of getting it all together, getting the final cut good, getting all the visual effects done. And as far as what the movie is actually about, so it's I don't want to say too much because I mean it is a short film. It's not a feature length film, so there's only so much I can spoil. But I do want I'll say that it is, and Travis told you a little bit about it last time when he was on your show. But it is about two characters named Tarek and Saval, Tarek Duray and Saval Coben. They are members of kind of a cult, not a cult, a group called the Guardians of the Whills, which were actually introduced in Rogue One. The two characters played by the Donnie Yen character and the other actor.
Sheridan Way and
yeah. And this is kind of a different take on that group. It's kind of a, this takes place far in the future. This takes place hundreds of years past the end of, Rise of Skywalker. This takes place way in a part of the galaxy that we haven't really ever seen. And I think we wanted to do that because it keeps us able to basically do whatever we want. We're free to kind of go in any direction.
Yes.
And it follows these two characters that are kind of the last remnants of this group that are, it's not the same kind of Guardians of the Whills that we've seen before or have heard about before. It's kind of different. They train with lightsabers. They don't use the Force, but they are aware of the Force. They studied the Force. And for those who don't know what the Guardians of the Will are, the Guardians of the Whills are basically Force worshippers. They're Force studiers. They guard the Kyber Temple, and the Kyber Temple is what holds the Kyber crystals, which are inside a Jedi's lightsaber. And so I thought it would be cool to tell a story about these types of characters that aren't Jedi, but have Jedi-like tendencies and Jedi-like abilities. And but also telling a very personal human story about people like that, because you can go one of two ways. You can go, a very kind of traditional, like kind of distant, these two characters are very like classical, like Qui-Gon type Jedi stories. You can tell very personal human type dramas. And I wanted to tell a story like that. And we have a really compelling story that is driven a lot by action. I mean, there's a lot of action, a lot of dueling throughout the movie. I mean, I would say about half the movie is action, if not more than that. But I really like that we're doing something that is, I don't know if I'd say overly deep, but I'd say it's heavily reliant on drama. And I think it's cool to see a Star Wars movie telling a story that's very, drama driven, as opposed to like, more spectacle or anything like that.
Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, I for one cannot wait to see the results of this film and see where it goes. Now, and I'm glad that you stated where the timeline is, because that was going to be one of my next questions. Like, where does this exactly take place within the sandbox? But the good news is it's so far removed from all the other films, you can play in your own sandbox and not worry about anything else. You can play with these characters. You can mess with the mythology and the timeline a little bit. And that's good to know, because that gives you more freedom of creativity. That
was one of the first decisions I made when coming up with the story. Is like, when do I want this to take place? I originally was thinking maybe back in the, Old Republic era. But then I changed it because I thought, well, there's already some established stuff back there that I don't really want to mess with. And also, like, that would maybe, it could provide some opportunity to do stuff, but it would also be like, why is there no reference to like Darth Revan or Bane or things like that, or other characters? I don't know what's canon or not anymore. But but I really wanted to give ourselves opportunity to do basically whatever we wanted and not have to worry about, is it going to cross over with this, or is it going to conflict with something? Obviously it's not canon, but if it were canon, I would like to make it as if it were, you know what I mean? And so I think that was one of the coolest things about it, is that like, no, it's not canon, but like, there's nothing to say it can't be. If someone from Lucasfilm would go, hey, we want to make this canon, and they could, it's not like it deals directly with any character you've ever seen.
Oh man, I cannot wait to see it. This is going to be great, and thank you for sharing that with us. Now, with this film and everything else that's going on, I mean, from the looks of it, from the trailers that we've seen, it looks great. And I know that a new trailer is going to drop on Tuesday, May 4th. Which, by the way, that's called perfect timing.
Yeah.
That's called perfect marketing, if I do say so myself. And I'm glad that this takes place in a different era and different times, different time periods. So you can play with it as you will, because as we all know, we don't know if we're ever going to get episodes 10, 11, or 12 or whatever. But this has nothing to do with that. This is just a completely spin-off story, and that's all well and good. Now, we all know that the Star Wars fan community is very vocal.
Yeah.
Whether it be for the positive or the negative, but I have a feeling that when this film drops on July 3rd, that it's going to get a positive response. And I'm hoping that the millions and millions of Star Wars fans are going to enjoy the heck out of this, because there's a lot of, and there's a fair argument to be made that some of the Star Wars fan films that have come out in a number of years are, to an extent, they're better than what the main studios are putting out.
There's some really talented, amateur filmmakers out there. They're not working for the big studios. They're just doing things for passion and fun. I think it's really cool to see that. I've actually been parts of our movie have been loosely inspired by some of the stuff we've seen. There's, as far as like choreography goes and the way their shooting stuff goes. And even, bits and pieces of, story ideas, there's everything is, we're always influenced by the stuff we're watching. So I've definitely watched my fair share of fan films, and there's a lot that have been really impressive.
Mm-hmm. If you had to say there's one thing that distinguishes your film from all the others, what would you say it is?
That's a good question. I think, aside from the time period one, because I think a big one that a lot of fan films do is they're trying to take place within the continuing time period.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the one thing is, that's a good question. I'm really trying to think of a really good answer for you.
Insert Jeopardy theme here.
I think the biggest one is our influences. I think this movie's, and me and Travis talked about this early on, it's heavily influenced by traditional samurai films, like Akira Kurosawa type films.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is reflected throughout the movie. And I think that's something that's very rarely, if not ever, seen actually in Star Wars. George Lucas was inspired by those when he originally made the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of that's been seen in any of the movies outside of, honestly, I think only really the prequels have really delved into some of that kind of stuff and bits and pieces of the original trilogy. And I haven't seen too many fan films that really play around with it. I think there's one in specific that I have seen that did kind of stuff like that. But I think that's a big player, and that's something that I think really distinguishes our film, is the way it's styled and the way it's very clearly taking inspiration from those types of stuff. Which actually also the music, when you watch the movie, definitely gives off that vibe, and it has that very classical, very, I don't know if I'd say eerie, but very dramatic and thought-provoking kind of sound.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right. Well, very much looking forward to hearing what the score is going to be, what the story is going to be, how these characters are going to interact with one another. Now, this is something that I'm going to ask you ahead of time, because I know all the other members of the press who are going to get wind of this, and they're going to be excited to see this movie. They're going to ask you this. They're going to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you first. Are there plans for other adventures concerning Star Wars: The Broken Whills? Are there plans for a spinoff? Are there plans for a sequel? What's going to happen?
I will. There's not too much I can say without spoiling the movie. I'll say never say never.
Did you hear that, friends? Did you hear that? I hope you did. So to take a step back here, I'm just curious. What was your first experience with a galaxy far, far away? Was it watching a movie on VHS? Was it going to the theater to see one of the movies that did hit theaters that year? What was it like?
So the first Star Wars movie I saw was Return of the Jedi. I saw it when I was, I think, maybe 7, 8 years old. And actually, at the time, I saw it. I think I saw it. I saw it because when I was a kid, I stayed after school with they watch kids that like when their parents work, so like they watch kids that don't have everywhere to go at home. So they would always put on movies for us and entertain us and stuff. So they were playing Star Wars: Return of the Jedi one day, and I remember watching it, and I was like, I don't know anything about Star Wars. I know what lightsabers are, and I've heard the name Luke Skywalker. And I remember watching it and going, "Oh, this is cool." I didn't actually watch the whole movie. I was just kind of like observing it, but I do specifically remember watching it and going, "Oh, wow, this is cool. I kind of want to get more into this." And then a couple years later, I was actually properly introduced. Although I will say, I'm one of the few, and call it blasphemy, I actually saw the prequels first, as far as like actually like watching the films. Mm-hmm. And so I remember before Revenge of the Sith came out, I did a proper watch. I watched 1, 2, and then I saw Revenge of the Sith in 3 theaters. So that was kind of my first actual getting into the Star Wars experience. And I remember I loved them at the time. I watched episode 1 when I was 10 years old, and I was like, this is amazing. I thought this is the coolest movie ever. So.
So what would you say is your favorite Star Wars movie that's not The Empire Strikes Back?
Oh boy, this is a controversial answer. It's the one that's right behind my head here. The Last Jedi, episode 8.
Yep. That's a film that's not divisive. It's extremely
the most safe and beloved movie of all time. That's just everyone agrees on it, and there's no divisiveness whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever. There's no hate mail being sent out. There were no tweets or Instagram followers that were putting out some not so nice messages to certain people on the interwebs. But you know what? That's a story for another day entirely. But I'm just gonna say, wow, The Last Jedi. Okay, that's fair. Hey man, that's fair game. You do you. If you like a certain film, you support it no matter what. That's fine. I'll accept that. I mean, for me, if someone asked me on the street, what's your favorite Star Wars movie of all time, right now, even though this may change over time, I mean, right now, I would say The Force Awakens.
That's fair.
I love that movie.
I love The Force Awakens. I do.
I love it. I absolutely love that movie. I mean, yeah, sure. People make arguments about it. You can say, oh, it was the same movie we got in 77. Well, who cares? It works. It works. It introduced new characters, introduced some new stuff. Plus, it honored what came before with bringing all the big 3 back. So we got to see Carrie Fisher a few more times before she unfortunately passed away. So you got to. You got to take with what you can get. So I enjoy it wholeheartedly. Plus, I got a Force Awakens poster right over here.
Nice. I have one
right here.
I have one put away, rolled up somewhere that I will. Hopefully be able
that's not cool, man. That's a Star Wars poster. You don't keep those things rolled up. You put them on your wall.
I have a poster for every Star Wars movie. I just don't have room to put them all up right now.
And you call yourself a real fan. Get out of here. I'm just kidding. People have different spaces, and not everyone has a giant mansion like other people that we know of. But anywho, I understand. So here's another question for you. What would you say are your favorite things about Star Wars?
Oof, it's a loaded question there. My favorite, I mean, I think my favorite thing about it, and this is actually part of why I love The Last Jedi so much, is just the endless possibilities. I think the fact that it's one of, if not the most creative franchises out there, which is why I'm always wanting to see them do new things in it. I always want them to do, push boundaries and, make us question new things about Star Wars. And it's just, I love the pure like creativity and the endless ideas that can come from Star Wars. And that was actually one of the main things that I was driving how I would make the Broken Whills. Is like, I want to do stuff that's hasn't been done before. I want to, see things that haven't been seen before. I want to, do ideas that maybe haven't been touched on before. And I think that's how you get the best art most of the time. And I think that's how you get the best Star Wars movies, at least the Star Wars movies that I think are the best. And yeah, those things I love. And I also, obviously I love the lightsaber. Who doesn't love the lightsaber? It's one of the coolest weapons ever. It is the coolest weapon ever. It's and I love I love the hybrid of science fiction and fantasy, which is I think one of the only franchises to ever really pull that off. I mean, you've had other things try, but that's the big one, and it's still the best one to me. I think it's just a cool thing. I mean, it's not Star Trek, or it's not something like Ex Machina. It's not like hard science fiction, but it's also not Lord of the Rings, and it's it's not Harry Potter. It's kind of a blend of the two, and I think that's really cool.
Really good answers. Really good answers. I'm loving this. Now, on the flip side, what are some of your least favorite things about Star Wars?
The fan base.
Like I said, that's a completely separate show. But
Besides,
I understand.
But yeah. My least favorite thing. Here's a controversial answer that maybe someone get mad at me for. I don't like certain characters. There's some characters that are really fan loved that I don't particularly care for. One of them being General Grievous. I'm not a big fan of General Grievous. I think he's annoying. I think he's silly, and I don't find him menacing at all. I think he's a slapsticky character. It's just there's certain characters. I think there's certain like elements of Star Wars that are very goofy and overly silly that I'm not particularly fond of. But at the same time, it is a franchise that is, as George, like I said, made for 12-year-olds. And I appreciate those aspects for them. And I think it fits in certain areas and has its place. Me personally, it's like whenever we get into like the goofy, slapsticky, silly stuff, it's a little overbearing sometimes for me.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, as a filmmaker yourself, what are you looking forward to most as you move into your next projects with your filmmaking career? What do you hope to accomplish next?
So like I said, never say never for future Star Wars. And then we actually have a couple projects coming up down the line. There's a drama that we haven't announced yet, but we are in pre-production on right now that we're going to be shooting hopefully sometime at the end of the summer. That I don't know when it will be released, but we will be doing some sort of film festival run with it. And I'm hopeful that it'll come out by the end of the year, if not sometime next year. So we'll have more information about that sometime later in the year. We also have at least some sort of development stage. We're working on a mini series of sorts that Travis and I and Cal are working on. That actually ties into a movie, one of our short films that we've already made, that came out a couple years ago. So it's kind of a spin-off of that, and we're really excited to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's really funny. It's kind of it's kind of a dark comedy. It's really cool. And then as far as other stuff, I mean, not like production based. I mean, we're always kicking around ideas for new weekly or monthly series we can do, and as far as like Terror Talk and Lasting Insight. So we have other stuff that we've talked about, but nothing's concrete. But we definitely have other projects coming up in the future.
Well, in the words of one character that once said, "You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention." So I like where this is going, Josh, and we wish you the best of luck with those projects. And by the way, we're talking with Josh Neal here, director of the upcoming film Star Wars: The Broken Whills. If you have any questions for him, leave them in the comment section, leave them in the live chat. We're going to be monitoring that as we go throughout the course of the program. Now, Josh, let's turn things around a little bit here. What's the funniest or most disappointing or even weirdest text message you've ever received?
A random question, but I will only think. Weirdest? Let's see. I'm in a group chat with Cal and Travis and among other and Greg. So, many text messages are beyond disturbing.
Which reminds me, why are we still friends with them? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Isn't Greg watching?
Yeah, he is. He's in the chat. We see him, but he's not asking any questions. So, Greg, I can't bring your comments up on screen unless it's a legitimate question for our guest today. So, Greg, watch what you say. But please continue on, Josh.
The funniest text I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to really look and think about that. I do get a lot of. I will say, most of the funny texts I get are Travis's creative insults hurled towards me. that you can hear some of on Lasting Insight. But they don't compare to the ones that he sends me through text. But yeah, those are some of the funniest I've gotten. Is anything Travis conjures up in his mind about me.
Gee willikers. My goodness gracious. Travis, never mind. Anywho, here's another one for you, Josh. You're going to love this. What's something that you've never been able to do well?
I've never been able to do well. I can't whistle.
No, you can't whistle. Okay. I mean, most can, but some people do have a bit of trouble with that.
I can't whistle. That's something I can't do well. That's something I can't do at all.
Gee whiz. You know, there's this movie that's been out for like several, like not even several, many decades, and I've yet to see it, but I really want to sit down and watch it one day.
Yeah.
It's a scene where the actress turns to her co-star and she says, "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? Just push your lips together and blow." I'm like, geez, okay. That's one way to go about it, but hopefully I get to watch that film one of these days because I hear it's a classic Hollywood film that I really want to watch. So I'm just pointing that out there, Lauren Bacall. But anywho, I believe that's the actress who's in that scene during the course of that movie. So if I'm wrong, let me know in the chat. I'm just curious. So how about this one here, Josh?
Yep.
What's the weirdest tradition your family has?
Weirdest tradition my family has. Honestly, we don't have that many traditions. It's not weird, but a tradition is whenever we are putting up the Christmas tree every year, my mother, for whatever reason, has to play Elvis music. I don't know. And not just during it, but the whole day. The whole day. It's on repeat all day. And I got to hear it every year, ever since I was a child.
Oh my goodness. So what's your favorite Elvis song?
You'd think I'd have one by now. I do like Elvis a lot. Jailhouse Rock, probably.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I do like that one. I actually like a little less conversation. Either whether it's the original or the what's it called, the JXL remix version that they came out with years later. I like that version more so than the original. No offense, Elvis. No offense. Just saying. Like the remix. Sometimes the remix of a song is slightly better than the original version. I mean, that's how you agree, Josh, with the special editions of the original trilogy. I mean, you love those special edition cuts, right? Maybe not so much.
Couldn't.
No,
you couldn't.
You don't like the special editions?
Not really, no.
Okay, so you're in the camp that says don't touch these films. They're fine the way
I don't
they
have
are.
a problem with them changing them. I wish the originals were available in restored 4K HD and all that stuff. Well, legally anyway. Not.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are other ways.
Yes,
Josh.
I have the specialized right there. So.
The despecialized. Yeah, I was gonna say because life finds a way. To get those original versions.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that out there. But yeah, wow, Elvis music while putting up holiday decorations. Good Lord.
Yep.
Blue suede shoes.
That's the only tradition I can think of. We don't really have too many others, if any traditions really.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So we know that Earth is closed today, as a fictional character likes to tell us a few years ago in a certain film. I believe it was Infinity War.
Yep.
So with that being said, if all the movies that we were supposed to get in 2020, maybe some of the other ones in 2021, even though we know that some of these films are going to be released through streaming services, which I understand.
Yep.
Some of them are going to be in theaters, and they're also going to be exclusive to streaming. But I'm just curious, if all the films we missed out on within the last year and change were to be out tomorrow, and theaters were fully reopened and Earth was reopened, what would be the first movie that you would want to see on the big screen right now?
It's a toss-up between two films. It's either Halloween Kills or Dune, Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. A little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy sci-fi.
Yep. I can't wait for. I'm a huge Halloween fan, so I'm dying to see the next Halloween film. But also, I'm a huge Denis Villeneuve fan, and I will watch anything he does. And just the idea of a big, epic, blockbuster sci-fi spectacle from him, especially after Blade Runner 2049, which I loved, one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I can't wait for that movie either. I think both are going to be awesome. I can't wait for both.
I am looking forward to Dune as well. Halloween Kills depends on the next trailer because we've only gotten teases for it. We've never really gotten a full length, like 2.5 minute trailer for it as of yet because I know they've been delaying it because of the pandemic, and then they went back. I think they tried to do some reshoots here and there, so that's been a bit of a struggle. I don't know. To be honest, I really thought Halloween from 2017, 2018. I thought that was the end, really.
Yeah, I mean, they actually, when they made that movie, they were envisioning it as a trilogy. They originally wanted to shoot all three back to back to back, but they decided just do the first one. We'll see how it does first, and then now they're doing the other two.
No, that's fair. That's fair. If you want to go to conventions, there's one that's held every year in Hunt Valley of Maryland, and it's called Monster Mania.
Yep, Travis.
It's nothing but horror. So you being the horror fan that you are, that would be something you may want to look into once Earth reopens and it's safe to go to conventions again.
I will definitely look into that. That's definitely one that I've been curious to go to.
And a lot of the actors and actresses from some of your favorite horror films of all time, including the Halloween franchise, have made appearances at these conventions.
Huh. Nice.
So you might want to get your Funko Pops, get your posters, get them signed. You may need to put out some money for some of that stuff. But if you win the lottery, you got a duffel bag of cash laying around. You got some money under that mattress of yours. You can use it for those autographs, right?
Exactly.
I'm sure that would be something that's worth spending your money on.
Yeah.
I would assume. So that's all well and good. Well, we want to take this opportunity to thank Josh Nito for being our guest this week on And I Quote. Josh, where can everyone find you on social media and everything you have coming up?
You can find me on Lasting Light Media on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook. If you want to follow my personal stuff, I'm on Twitter at Niels_94, Instagram Niels94. So those are all my socials right there.
Excelente, excelente. Thank you very much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here for And I Quote. My name is Ryan of Neuroculture. You can follow us on all forms of social media at It's Neuroculture. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel where new videos are being dropped each and every week. And if you're wondering, well, what is a weird tradition that your family has, or what's the strangest text message you've ever received? If you're wondering where those questions came from, I'll tell you where they came from. This episode of And I Quote and every episode of And I Quote is powered by Poddex. Poddex are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcast. Simply shuffle them up, ask a question, let the content roll. Get yours today at poddex.com. And make sure to use the promo code NERDCULTURE for 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss it. In the meantime, to everyone out there, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and don't forget Star Wars: The Broken Whills, the most anticipated film of 2021, is going to drop on July 3rd on the YouTube channel of Lasting Light Media. So don't forget about it. Get your lightsabers ready. Get your Jedi or Sith robes on. Get your swag on. And in the meantime, everything's perfectly fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? And one more thing. May the Force be with you. Take care.